here I am at Gatwick Airport, about to go on just over a week's trip to see my mum up in the Highlands of Scotland. Do this trip every year, but we always try to sort of go somewhere new each time. So this time we're going to a village called Braemar, which is in the Cairngorm Mountains, so that's really exciting. Trip is going okay so far. I'm about to go to my gate at the airport. They had slightly new security measures at Gatwick, which kind of threw me a little bit, but it's all fine. I'm checking a bag this time, which I don't usually do, but I'm bringing hiking poles with me, because I've got some new ones that I want to try out. And so those have to go in the hold of the plane. So I've now got that thing where I'm constantly thinking I've lost my suitcase somewhere, but I haven't. I've just checked it in. I can't wait to show you more of what happens on this trip.
We've got a flight time today in the region of about 1 hour 15 minutes. Unfortunately, as you can see and tell, it's a bit of a wet start to the day, and that theme very much continues throughout most of the UK today. Up in Inverness at the moment, there's a light easterly breeze on the ground, quite a lot of cloud around.
This is my first morning in Scotland. When I arrived yesterday, it was really lovely and sunny. As you can see today, it's quite a bit grayer, and I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of sun again. Today's supposed to clear up a bit and be quite nice, but after that there's lots of snow, and we're going to stay kind of in the mountains, so in a way that would be quite nice, but I do want to kind of do some hill climbing, so I'm not sure how that'll work out with the weather, but I will keep you posted. I spent last night at my mum's house, and this morning we're leaving to drive to Braemar in the Cairngorm Mountains. Some noisy seagulls today, so I'm looking forward to seeing what there is to film around Braemar. I can't believe this is where we're staying. It's really beautiful. This is a part of an engine of a plane that crashed, I think in the 40s. It wasn't, it was sort of a training flight, but they've left this here as a memorial. There's a house down here where the roof is so low to the ground. Today is the second full day of my trip to Braemar. Yesterday was very wet weather, so we stayed in. Today, as you can see, it's kind of snowing. It's been snowing and kind of sun interchangeably all day, which has been actually quite nice, but it's a bit grey now. So yeah, I've just come for a little walk along this bit of water that's called Clooney Water, I think. I did have some fantastic wildlife earlier. Walked in some woods with my mum near the village, and we got to see some red squirrels really, really close up, which was amazing because I've only ever seen one once before, and it was sort of at a distance in the trees. But we were in a sort of bird hide, and there were sort of at least 4 or 5 running all over the place, getting really close, and I managed to film them a little bit, so that was really, really cool. We're staying in an amazing building. It's a converted sort of chapel. It's called the Belfry, the Highland Belfry. So it's got really interesting architecture, windows, like churchy windows, and then when you go to bed at night, there's a little folding piece of boards that you have to put up in the window in place of curtains, because I think it would just be difficult to hang curtains around these oddly shaped windows, which is kind of funny. But yeah, loads of animals and birds around. It's really nice. Behind the belfry where we're staying, there's loads of rabbits. I've seen them every day, and there's a pair of pheasants that seem to live there as well. So yeah, hoping the next couple of days should be a little bit better weather-wise, which would be nice because I'd like to see a little bit more of the mountains. It's a little bit sort of misty today. I'll flip the camera and show you what I'm looking at right now. So yeah, it's beautiful, but I am hoping for slightly better weather for my big hill walk, which today is Monday. I'm hoping to do on Wednesday. So fingers crossed it'll be good enough that I can kind of climb a small hill They have these peaks in Scotland called Munros, which are above a certain height. This is the one I'm hoping to climb. It's a little bit lower than a Munro, but it's almost to that height, and the views are supposed to be amazing. So if I get a bit of sun, I mean, look, the sun's just come out now, but it needs to be a little less hazy for me to really be able to see the views. This is really, really beautiful. I'm right at the back of the little chapel where we're staying, and I've scrambled down this sort of rocky bank to the river, and there's almost a little sort of islandy thing that I'm exploring at the moment. I'll show you where I just came from. I've just come on a short walk to the Braemar duck pond. There are no ducks today, but I think directly opposite me is the hill that I'm going to be climbing tomorrow. It's Wednesday morning. I'm in the middle of my hill climb, a little bit out of breath, and I was kind of hoping for a bit of sun. Today was really the only day where there was supposed to be some kind of reliable sun in the morning. It's not really happened, but it's kind of okay. It's clear enough that I can enjoy the views. It's just started to snow. You can probably see a little bit there, but it's just tiny, tiny flurries. I'll show you the view that I'm looking at. There is the duck pond that I was at yesterday, and the village there. I'm walking through all this kind of open moorland, heather everywhere, and there are birds in the heather making these lovely little sounds. I don't know if you'll be able to hear. Oh, and down there I can actually see they have a Highland Games Centre here in this village. I don't know if you can see that kind of circular shape with seating all around. That's what that is. There's a little bit of thin ice on the path here, and it's got water sort of trickling underneath it. So here I am almost at the very top. There's a teeny bit more to do, but I've come to this area with loads of cairns. I'm sort of sitting on one at the moment. You can see the river in the background and the mountains over there. I think it took me about 70, 80 minutes, so just over an hour to get up here. Got a little packed lunch, which it's a bit early for, but I'm hoping to kind of take my time on the way down and hopefully find a nice spot that's not too cold where I can have my lunch. I don't really feel cold because of the effort of climbing, but I'm sure I will if I sit still for very long. But yeah, I'm very happy I made it to the top and that it was, I mean, it's not beautiful weather by any means, but it's kind of dramatic to be in the snow a little bit up here. Little footprints here. I think probably a rabbit. I made it to the top. Definitely high up here. It's 650 meters and 2,800 feet, something like that. I'm not sure of the conversion exactly, but I definitely noticed my ears popping a few times climbing up the last bit. So yeah, really happy I made it to the top, and there's enough visibility that I can see the other mountains. So I'm gonna start heading down now. So I think that is where I'm gonna be heading down again. I would absolutely love to see some deer. I have read that people have seen deer on this bit, so I've got my fingers crossed. I've seen more red squirrels, which has been lovely, and some kind of game bird flew out of the heather when I passed, but I didn't really get a good look. I'll have to try and identify it later. It's absolutely silent up here. It's quite nice. I haven't seen any other walkers, and I left quite early, so I only saw 2 people in the village. Apart from an occasional bird, there's just absolute silence. What on earth is this plant that I've just spotted here? I have never seen that before. I'm going to have to do some identification. So this is the Corbett, the hill that I climbed today. I think I climbed it from this end up to the very top where the little phone mast is, and then down the other side. And you can see the river down there. Pretty soon I should be able to see the village again, I think. I'm really curious about what causes these kind of shapes in the heather on the hillsides. If anyone knows, do let me know. There's definitely some deer footprints in this bit of forest. Well, I didn't see any deer, but I can definitely see where they walk here. think I found the place to have my lunch. There's sheep behind me and the river in front of me. This is why there's no ducks at the duck pond, because they're all here. We had a really lovely week in the Cairngorm Mountains, in spite of some terrible weather. Lots of snow and rain. Snow flurries, not really bad snow, but still it was a little colder than I was expecting. I actually found out that the village we were staying in has the lowest ever recorded temperature in the whole of the UK, from 1982. I think it was -27 or something. So yeah, it was quite a high elevation village and quite chilly, but it was still nice. I mean, it was sunny when we arrived, so we got to do the drive through the mountains there in the sun, which was lovely. On our first day there, we did a woodland walk and we found a bird hide. So we were kind of hiding in that looking for birds, and we were really amazed to find about 4 or 5 red squirrels running around all over the place, getting really close to us because they didn't know we were there in the hide. That was absolutely amazing. On the Wednesday, I did my hill climb, which I really enjoyed. And I was just so happy that I managed to do it because the weather was not great. And obviously I wouldn't want to climb a peak with no kind of visibility or with fog or snow or whatever. So the tiny amount of snow that was happening was kind of just about okay. And I'm so happy that I managed to actually do that. I think I mentioned in my footage from that day that I was hoping to see deer. Didn't see any that day, but I did see some from the car just driving past a few days later, so that was nice. The actual village that we stayed in, Braemar, was absolutely lovely. It has sort of 2 rivers running through and past it, and right in the middle of the village there's a bridge with kind of almost a waterfall, a low waterfall right in the centre of the village, which is quite unusual. It's got a castle outside the village, it's got a ruined castle inside the village. Just loads of really interesting things. It's also got a French patisserie run by 2 pastry chefs, classically trained French pastry chefs. So we did get to sample some of that as well. Thursday and Friday were pretty rainy, pretty grim. I mean, Thursday was the worst day. So we decided to drive to Ballater, which is the next village along. We looked in a few shops and galleries and had lunch out. One other thing they had in Ballater, there used to be a railway line running through all these villages, which has been closed for a while now. But it used to run from Aberdeen through there, and we were staying right near Balmoral, so it was a railway line that got a lot of royal use back in the day. And in Ballater you could actually see Queen Victoria's old waiting room that she used when she would take the train. On the Friday it wasn't too wet, but it was still kind of grey. But we went on a really spectacular little walk that was a bit of a drive away from the village, called Linn of Dee. So Dee is one of the rivers that runs through there. Linn means gorge, so it's the Gorge of Dee. And it's a really amazing little kind of waterfall, craggy gorge where the water's carved these amazing kind of round shapes out of the rock. So that was really nice to see. And we did see, walking through the woods there, we saw another red squirrel that was eating a pine cone in a tree. And I did notice that a lot of the trees in that little area of the woods had these piles of bits of pine cone at the bottom of the trees. So definitely loads of red squirrel activity there. And today's Saturday, we just drove back to my mum's part of the country. It was quite an atmospheric drive because up in the highest points it was quite frosty and cold, and there was a little bit of kind of haze and frost. The highest point I think on that route back through the mountains is there's a ski resort up there, closed at the moment obviously because there's not enough snow to ski, but it looked kind of cool up there. And then a lot of the roads up there have these sort of snow poles sticking up along the sides of the road, so that when there's snow and you can't actually see where the road is, you can navigate using the poles. And a lot of those roads also had gates where if it's snowy and the road is dangerous, they just close them all together. There you are, that's been my week in the Highlands. Cairngorm Mountains get a huge recommendation from me. They were absolutely stunning. Usually we go and stay in sort of coastal places. And the Cairngorms National Park is very inland, but loads and loads of rivers and pine forest and just absolutely beautiful colours. There was a lot of very bright moss green, and then the ground there was really, really red, really kind of orangey red. So I was kind of constantly looking at the colours and thinking how beautiful it was. So yeah, a lovely relaxing week, and tomorrow I head back to London.
Calling at Wandsworth Common, Balham, Streatham Common, Norbury, Thornton Heath, Southhurst,
West Norwood, Gypsy Hill, Crystal Palace, Sydenham, Forest Hill, Honor Oak Park, Brockley, New Cross Gate.